The Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians is pleased to bring you training on a variety of assistive technologies. Please like and subscribe.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is June the 16th, and this is AEBC's fourth podcast on the Android operating system. And we have Glen Sepke back to talk to us about the Chrome app and possibly other apps as well, time permitting. So at this point, take it away, Glen.
Good evening or afternoon, and thank you for inviting me back again. This is the fourth in the series, like Diana mentioned. Just off the top, I will put in my 30-second disclaimer that Android is an open source operating system. It's mostly owned by Google. Other manufacturers, however, can take the code and branch it off. So other manufacturers such as Samsung, Motorola, other manufacturers can create their own versions of things. So our explorations here are with the closest to the pure Android, in my opinion. That's the one that Google puts out, and I'll be talking from a Google Pixel, which is the Google Pixel perspective of handsets. And to know more about the implications of that for training, for learning, check the notes from our first session wherein I went into a lot more detail. So today my intention is to hit two major topics. One is efficiencies using the Chrome browser, and the second one is suggestions for apps to be used with different file types. After last week, we did some exploration through the Google File app, and we saw all these different files and different formats. And the question came up, well, what app should we be using to open and process those files? So we hope that we'll get to that. Okay, so the browser that usually ships with Android is called Chrome. There are versions of it available for Windows, of course. I think also in the Apple realm on iOS and on Mac computers. I've found that using Chrome with a touch screen under Android is cumbersome. I prefer to do my browsing using an actual keyboard, whether that's a Bluetooth keyboard connected to my phone or in a Windows environment. However, what we're going to be talking about today are some of the efficiencies that I've found that you can set up to make things go a little bit smoother. And on my phone and sharing my screen, I have the AEB website that we are going to use for our examples of talking about. So the first efficiency that's available is simplified view. Simplified view kicks in when Chrome recognizes that we have a web page that's mostly text. It will notify you that simplified view is available, and there'll be a button there. So once you tap on simplified view, it pulls all of the text on the website, eliminating all of the menu bars, sidebars, all the stuff that I optimistically call crud, so that you just get the main text of the articles. Then you can pick to have that article read out to you with a different voice than your screen reader, so you can adjust things like speed or the voice that you use for that. So the first thing we're going to go and turn on the notification of that, so that if we image preview. If we run into a page with lots of text, we'll at least know about that the simplified view is available. So to turn on the simplified view notification, we click on the Customize and Control Google Chrome, which is in the top right-hand corner of the screen.
Image.
Let's
Battery 78%. Image preview. Image.
let's
Stop share. Edit. Open micro. Image preview. Image. Image. Top left corner of search area. Left 60%. Top edge of search area. Top right corner.
Okay, I'm...
Screen search. Top edge of search area. Top 15%.
Okay, the reason that I'm kind of struggling here is sometimes when the Zoom call is on, there's extra stuff that shows up on the screen, so I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here.
Editing. Travel. Edit box. Previous screen. Button.
Oh, okay.
Editing. Clear input. Search result. List.
Let's try this. I think I inadvertently brought up
Keyboard
the
hidden.
screen search, so let's go back up to the
Checked.
top.
All. Radio button. Not checked. Headings. Radio button. Not checked. Landmarks. Radio button. Not checked. Editing. Search. Editing. Travel. Edit box. Gemini.
Gemini.
Image preview. Image.
Okay.
Image preview. Top edge of search area. Image preview. Image. Ask Gemini. Edit box.
Just bear with me a sec here.
Chrome Alliance for Equality of Blind National Home.
Okay, I think we're there now.
Customize and control Google Chrome button.
Customize and control Chrome. So I'm going to double tap on there.
Pop-up window. Pop-up bookmarks.
So what we're looking for in here is accessibility. No, settings first and then accessibility. So we'll look for settings.
Reset tabs. Share. Reset tab. Share. Find in page. Translate. Show add to home. Turn on get image. Setting. Help and feedback. Settings. Settings.
Double tap on settings and then
Search engine.
we're
Google
looking for
address.
accessibility.
Privacy. Safety check. Password. Google payment. Address. Advanced. Tabs and homepage. Notificate. Appearance. Accessibility.
There's accessibility.
Accessibility.
And actually, when we're in here, I'm going to talk about another setting too, but let's start with the notify of simplified view.
Accessibility. Help at default. Decrease. Fit. Increase. Save. Shows. Force. Enable zoom. Simplified view for web pages. Get notified when an article can be shown in simplified view. On. Switch.
And that's the setting that you're looking for, and I currently have mine turned on. While we're in settings, my AI buddy Gemini also tells me that to simplify the view of how things are displayed on the actual screen, what you can do is sort of force larger text on the screen. And what that does is tell Chrome, well, I've got to simplify the view if the person wants larger text. So it'll put things like sidebars or menus that are above will be moved around on the page so that it's a little more linear or a little more consistent from top to bottom. I haven't done a side-by-side comparison of this, but I will take AI at its word for this for the moment. So we go to this before that.
Force enable zoom. Override a website's request to prevent zooming in. On. Switch.
Force enable zoom, you want to turn that on so that whatever zoom settings you decide to tell it to use, it will use those and not allow you to go in, not allow the page to change it on you.
Show zoom option in main menu. Make saved zoom for sites. Increase zoom button.
So then we have this bar that basically changes the size of text, and there's a button here that increases the zoom.
50.0. Page zoom. Decrease zoom. 50.0. Page zoom. Value 50. Slider.
And it starts at 50, so I'm going to increase it to like 89%
Increase zoom
here.
button. Default zoom. Make text and image. Decrease zoom. 50.0. Page zoom. 63. 76.0. 89.0. Page zoom. Value
Okay, and the way I did
Slider.
that is I used a one finger up gesture on the actual scroll bar.
Decrease zoom. Default zoom. Help and feedback. Accessibility.
So those are the two settings that we went in here and changed. The zoom size for the text, and that's just to maybe force Chrome to simplify how it displays things. And then this flag that says if Chrome decides that a simplified view is available, notify me of that and we turn that on so that if we get a nice chunky website full of just text article, we will be able to read it, and it'll eliminate a lot of the other crud that's around.
Navigate up button.
So we're going to go out of settings by hitting the navigate up button, which is up near the top left-hand corner.
Settings. Appearance. Notification. Home. Tab. Advanced. Autofill. Addresses. Password. Safe chat. Privacy. Address bar. Search engine. Basics. Key. Google. Search. Back. Set. Button.
And then finally the navigate up button, which will take us to the actual web page
Chrome.
again.
Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians. National Home.
Okay, so those are the two settings that I would suggest that you might want to go in and take a look at. So next, we could sit here and on the web page just keep swiping forward to read item by item.
Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians. National Home. Web view.
Swipe right,
Region.
swipe right.
Skip domain content. Button.
Okay, so this gets a little tiresome, plus you'll develop tunnel carpal pretty quickly. So there is a way to go in and navigate this page by different control types. So when you're on the web page, there's a set of different control types, and a control type are things like headings, things like words, characters, paragraphs, buttons, any other control type such as an edit box. And you can change which control type you want to navigate by using a 3-finger swipe to the right or left. So I'm going to go to the right with 3 fingers.
Controls.
And it says controls.
Links.
And then links. So I'm going to go back and find headings.
Controls.
So I'm swiping to the left with 3 fingers.
Headings.
Now I'm on headings. Once you've picked that control out of the menu, now if I swipe with 1 finger down, I will move to that next control type.
AEBC on YouTube. Heading 2. AEBC WHOER. Heading 1. Featured posts. Heading 2.
That's moving downwards through the page. If I want to go backwards, I swipe with 1 finger upwards on the screen. So if I do that, you'll recognize the headings that it goes back to.
AEBC WHOER. AEBC on YouTube. Heading 2.
Okay. That same thing works for edit fields, for buttons, for whatever control type you want. There's one called control that will just go to the next interactive control. Those things are like edit boxes, buttons, things that you interact with on the screen. I usually leave it at headings so that I can skip quickly through a website to see what's going on the website. Most well-formed websites will at least use headers to divide up their different sections. Okay, so the next trick is called continuous reading. Even with flipping from heading to heading, you don't want to have to keep swiping right to keep hearing the next portion of the page. So we have a feature called continuous reading, and that just basically starts wherever you are on the web page and reads downward until you stop it. So to start it, it's 2 fingers triple tap. So with 2 fingers, I tap 3 times, and it'll just start reading the web page from where you are towards the bottom. When you want to stop and dig around at an item that you heard in a little more detail, it's a 2-finger single tap. So what I'm going to do is start the continuous reading, and then I'll stop it. So to start, 2-finger triple tap.
AEBC on YouTube. Heading 2. Watch a featured video from our YouTube channel. Link. Cruising with a guide dog on board in a shore. YouTube. Play video. Button. Hide player controls. Button. Cruising with a guide dog on board.
And then I've tapped with 2 fingers to stop it. And we are still located where it last was reading. Okay, the next feature is called scrolling long pages. So if you have a big web page with hundreds of links, say at an Amazon shopping site or things like that, you can actually scroll an entire screen's worth without having to listen to it. And the way that you do that is you put two fingers on the screen, but you separate them. When you pull your fingers down, you're actually you're actually moving down the web page. And when you pull your fingers, you drag your two fingers up, you'll move back up the web page. So that's just a way to scroll the web page. So I'm going to separate my two fingers.
0%. Region. AEBC on YouTube, heading 2.
So I'm scrolling. Sometimes if it's not a long enough web page, it doesn't work as well as it should. But keep that in mind as being able to scroll past things quickly with a two-finger drag. Okay, the next feature that you can use is if you're familiar with the web page and there's a particular thing you want to skip to, you can do a search. You can use the search on screen. To enter this, it's a three-finger tap and hold. And what that will do is pop up a dialog where you can type in something you want to search for. As you're typing in, it will populate suggestions underneath, and when you tap on that suggestion, it will jump you to that portion on the web page. So I'll demonstrate that. I know that I think there's an article lower down here about travel. So what I'm going to do is type in travel and see what comes up. So to bring up the search, three fingers, tap and hold.
Showing Gboard. Screen search.
And it said showing Gboard, screen search.
Clear input button.
There's the clear input button, so I'm going to do that.
Editing. Search screen. Edit
Now
box.
I'm going to type in travel.
T-R-A-V-E-L. Clear input button. Accessible air travel still has its ups. Accessible air travel still has its ups.
Okay, so underneath travel now we have the suggestions that it found on this screen. Accessible air travel still has its ups. I assume that's ups and downs. And the reason that it's showing up twice here is one of them is a graphic where that label has been used on the graphic. So I'm going to click on the second one, and what it should do is bring us to that portion of the screen.
Screen search. Keyboard hidden. Chrome. Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians. National Home. Accessible air travel still has its ups and downs. Image.
There we go. So I just swipe to the right and it's that image, and then we're on the header for that portion of the screen. A thing to be aware of is on that search, it's only on the current screen. If you run out of things or you don't find it on the screen, there's two buttons along the top, which is next screen or previous screen. And what Chrome will do is scroll the screen and then continue looking. So it doesn't go through the entire web page, it just goes through what's visible on the screen at the moment. The other thing that I should mention is once you do a screen search, that then is available in that control router that we looked at before, where we could go by heading, by whatever. So now if I do a one finger down swipe,
accessible air travel still has its ups and downs. Link. Accessible air travel still has its ups and downs. Heading to link.
I'm actually skipping from item to item that it was searching for, as opposed to going by the heading that I had set earlier. So let's switch it back to headings.
Speech rate. Characters. Word. Plot. Heading. Control. Links.
Whoops.
Controls. Headings.
Okay, so now I'm back to headings. So now if I do a swipe up,
featured posts, heading 2.
We're back to featured posts. So just be aware that once you do a screen search, your one finger flick up and down are going to look for the previous or next screen search results. Okay. Okay. The final thing that I'm going to talk about is something which isn't directly involved with Chrome, but it does help. So when Chrome builds a web page, the one thing that you are probably all aware of and have lots of experiences with is a lot of ads that get chunked into the web page and a lot of pop-up ads. These are sometimes really annoying to get past, or it actually just takes time to skip past them. So it is suggested that what you can do is use an ad blocker so that when it loads the web page, it's not going to load in all the ads and things will be a lot cleaner. So the way that we do this is we go to our system settings. So I'm going to go there now.
Home screen 1 of 2. Tuesday. Mostly folder. Settings. Calendar has one note of settings.
There's my settings.
Settings. Glen Sepke. Google Network and Internet. Mobile. Connected device. Network and Internet.
Then
Mobile.
I click
Wi-Fi.
on
Hotspot.
Network and Internet.
Network and Internet. Sims. Airplane. Hotspot. Data safe. VPN. Private DNS. Adaptive connectivity. Private DNS. DNS.adguard.com.
And the option you want is called Private DNS. Now this is computer speak. DNS stands for Domain Name Server.
Select Private DNS mode.
So I've clicked on that. So what a domain server is, domain name server is, you can think of it almost like a backwards phone book. So every website, every piece of information on the internet has a whole bunch of address numbers associated with it. Usually, we're up to 6 different, we're up to ISP 6 now, so it's different sets of numbers. Somehow you got to look those up to be associated with English names, and that's what a domain name server does. So what we're saying here, instead of the standard system domain name server, we're going to use a private one. And the one that we're going to use, we're going to fill in a name. So if I clicked on that private domain server, now if I go to the top of the
Select
screen,
Private DNS mode.
select the mode.
Not selected. Off. Radio button.
We can have it off for a private domain server, which just means it'll go to the system default.
Not selected. Automatic. Radio button.
Automatic. Chrome will decide which one to use.
Selected. Private DNS provider hostname. Radio button.
And the third one is private DNS, and we provide a host name. So I have that one selected. And then under the host name field,
Editing. DNS.adguard.com. Edit box.
I type in DNS period adguard, ADGUARD.com. And what that does is it says whenever you have to resolve a number, go and look there. And what DNS.adguard.com has done is that it's any ads that it recognizes as ads, it will not return a name so that the page will not display that ad. So in theory, what this does is simplify the web page so that you don't have to skip past a whole bunch of ads. Now, the technology, of course, is always a war zone where the ad companies are trying to outdo the ad blockers. So this will work for a while. It will work for some ads, not for others. So your mileage may vary. So if you're starting to find that things are not working correctly on web pages, I would suggest instead of setting this private DNS to this dns.adguard.com, what you do is you come back into this setting.
Select private
And
DNS.
change
Not
it back
selected.
to-
Private DNS provider hostname. Radio button. Not selected. Automatic. Radio button.
Change it back to automatic so that you're giving up control of that and letting Chrome deal with it. So what that should do is, yes, you might see more ads, but web pages that maybe had problems because of this setting will go back to working correctly. So those are the major things that I can tell you about to efficiently, and I use that in quotes because I still think it's more efficient to go use a keyboard, but to efficiently use Chrome with a touch screen. All right, so before we move on to our next topic, let's open up for questions over this one. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Just let me get set up for our next
Recent apps.
topic then.
Settings. Chrome. Zoom. Easy Reader. My Books. Android Gmail and Files Lesson 3. Android Gmail and Side Menu.
Okay.
Button.
So the next topic is, I've got a whole bunch of files, MP3s, EPUBs, electronic books, Daisy. What apps should I be using to open these and consume them on my phone? Creating them is a totally separate subject that I'm not going to get into today, like editing on a Word doc file, etc. But just to go in there and be able to read these files in a reasonable fashion. Okay, just let me get my notes to where we need to be here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is break this down by file format. I just think that'll be the quickest way to go about this. So to deal with these different types, of course, there's all kinds of apps out there on the Google Play Store. And for many of them, they do an okay job of allowing us to consume things like doc files, MP3 files, etc. But what they sometimes lack is the ability to go and navigate in a more granular level within the file, to be able to skip by sentences, by paragraphs, by pages, things like that. So there's no way that I was able to test all of the apps that are available. So I'm just going to give you recommendations based on my experience and reading that I've done. So I'm going to break it down again by file types. So the first ones we're going to talk about are documents, and that includes .txt files, which is just plain text, .docx, which is Word format, and .brf. So I have found that the best app to use for all of these formats is a program specifically designed for blind and vision impaired called Reader, as well as with formats. You can go and import these file types into the Easy Reader. So I'm going to show you briefly how to do that. So I'm not going to go through all the details of how to use Easy Reader for playing a book. I just want to show you how you can import files into it. So I'm on the main screen of it.
My Books.
My Books is a list of the files and books that I currently have in Easy Reader.
Import a book button.
And we have Import a Book, so I'm going to tap on that.
Choose a file. Import book from.
So we have two options here. Import a book from. That would be if a Daisy book or an EPUB book is coming from a library.
Annotation button. Choose a file. Window. Import book from. Choose a file.
Or choose a file. So when I click on choose a file, what it's going to do is bring up the same app that we dealt with last week called Google Files. So then I'll be able to go and navigate to the file of interest.
Media. Android Gmail and Files Lesson 3, Docs, June 9th, 27.87 kilobytes, docx document.
Okay, so you hear a file name there. And where it normally takes you, unless you've been in here before, which is why it's showing up here, if you've been in here before, it'll take you to the same folder that you were looking at last time. Otherwise, you're going to have to kind of drill down and go through those steps that we went through last time, going to internal storage if the file is on your phone, or other storage if the file you want to pull in is on, say, G Drive or Dropbox, and just keep drilling down till you find the file. So here I'm on a file.
Preview the file Android Gmail and Files Lesson 3, Docs.
Okay, so I know that's a Docs file.
Android Gmail and Files Lesson 3, Docs.
So
June 9th, 27.87 kilobytes docx document.
Okay, so if I just click on it.
My books. Please wait. My books. Loading. Import failed.
Okay, and it says import failed, and I think it says import failed because I already had it in my books.
Okay, button.
So let's try a different one.
Easy Reader. My books. Import a book. Choose a file. Import book from. Annotation button. Choose a file.
Choose
Window
a file.
Import book from.
I'm back
Media.
in my directory.
Android Gmail and Files Lesson 3, Docs. June 9th, 27. Preview the file Android Gmail. Android Play Store and Contacts Lesson 2.txt.
Okay,
June 13th, 8.10 kilobytes txt document.
Here's a txt file, which is the lesson 2 notes. So I'm going to try clicking on that one. I don't think I have that one in my list of books.
My books. Please wait. Loading. Import succeeded.
And it says import succeeded. So now,
Import succeeded. The book was imported and can be found in My Books. OK button.
so I just click on the OK button.
Android Play Store and Side menu button. My book. Import a sort button. Editing. Search. Edit box. Android Play Store and Contacts. Android Play Store and Contacts Lesson 2.txt. TXT. 22%.
And there's the file that I pulled in. So if I clicked on that, I'd be able to take it into the reader portion of Easy Reader and use the play button. Now you should be aware that how you can skip around in the file is going to vary depending on the file type. docx files, you're going to be able to skip by heading, you're going to be able to skip by page, etc. But a txt file doesn't have as much markup in the folder, or I'm sorry, in the file, so probably you're just going to be able to skip around by maybe a line count per page or things like that. So that's totally a function of Easy Reader. Okay, so that's your basic document type files. Next format, XLS, which is spreadsheet format. And I've got some bad news on this one. I have tried 3 or 4 different applications to try and read an XLS file, a spreadsheet. None of them work well under Android. Sometimes you can get the cell contents, but traversing around, going from cell to cell, just does not work well. So I would suggest for now, either keep looking for a different app and let me know when you find a good one, or just avoid XLS files under Android and maybe consider exporting them as something else, maybe as a Word document or as an HTML document, whatever you can convert that XLS file to a different format that maybe Easy Reader would be able to traverse a little bit easier. Okay, PDF formats. These are always come in 2 flavors, right? The searchable ones, which are text-based, and then the image ones. Again, the text-based ones, I can go in and find an app that will read it, but it basically allows me to read the entire document at once. It doesn't allow me to traverse by words or sentences or anything, so it's annoying. So again, I think in this case, conversion is going to be your friend. Convert it to a different format under Windows, because under Windows we have a lot more options now for PDF. The most familiar one is probably the browser for Microsoft, Edge. If you open a PDF in Edge, it will allow you to save it off as different formats. So for a PDF, I would suggest doing the conversion on your computer, and then when you move it to your phone, either through your G Drive account or through Dropbox, then you'd be able to read it in a better fashion on the phone itself. So, not so good news for XLS and PDF. I'm hoping you guys will take time to explore and teach me something of an app that does, provide access to those type of files. Okay, the next set of files that I want to talk about are book formats. And there are two categories of these types of formats. There's the DRM'd and the non-DRM'd. DRM stands for digitally rights managed, and what that means is the files have passwords on them or are encoded so that they can only be opened by a program if you have the key for it. And the way that you usually have a key for it is to have a subscription to an app or to buy an app. So let's talk about the DRM formats first. Okay, so probably the most recognizable one is Audible. So Audible is an app where you go in and you pay a monthly subscription and you can download X number of books per month. The player is totally accessible. The finding and downloading books is totally accessible within Audible. You do have a monthly charge. I'm not going to quote any prices because they seem to always have a sale on where you can get 2 for 1 per month or things like that, but it is a subscription-based app. Next most popular, well, not most popular, but another popular one is Kindle app. Here you can get text-based books and quite accessible. You'll be reading the text of the book and it'll come out in the same synthesized voice that you use for your screen reader. You can look up all of the gestures to move from page to page, etc. under Kindle. Another contender in this space is Kobo, which is kind of the Canadian equivalent or a competitor to Kindle. It is that one you can get both text and audiobooks. The audiobook player is accessible. The text-based books, when you go in and read them, they are accessible, but they have a little bit of extra crud on each top of the page that includes the chapter name and number. So you will, if you're using like your read all command, you're going to hear that for every page that you turn. So a little annoying, but if that's the only way you can get to a book, it does work. Okay, and the final app I want to talk about is one that you can use that is supported by all of the public libraries in Canada. It's called Libby, L-I-B-B-Y. This is a free app as long as you have a public library card. And this app is totally accessible for finding and downloading and reading books. And books can either be in text format or they can also be audiobooks. The selection of the audiobooks is in the thousands. The selection of the text-based books is a lot bigger. The app is usable. It's a very busy app, and it's a little convoluted to travel, to traverse, to figure out how to search for books, download them, and then keep them on your device. Usually you can loan a book from the library like that for 21 days, so you'll have 21 days to read it. It's worth the investment of time to understand the app just because it's a totally, another place to find recent text-based or audiobooks. Okay. So those were the DRM formats. So the next ones we're going to talk about is non-DRM. These are ones that are still in book format, but they are DRM free either because they come from specialized libraries for print disabled, such as CELA or NELS or Bookshare, or the author has decided to make them free to charge, so then they would tend to come down as EPUB books. Okay, so the first format we'll talk about is DAISY. That can include text, audio, or both. And I like to use that as our old friend Easy Reader. One section of Easy Reader allows you to go and actually connect directly to CELA, search for a book, put it in your bookshelf, and then download it directly to your player. You can also find books through a browser, going through the CELA website, put them in your list of books, and then download them using the Easy Reader app. So Easy Reader is your key for that one. Okay, EPUB are usually text-based books that do not have the DAISY markup put on top of them. So they're actually, EPUB is you can consider that a subset. Again, you can pull those into Easy Reader and pull them in that way. Now, the EPUB books that you would get that are non-DRM'd would be authors that have decided to make non-DRM versions of their books. And those are available from various websites. If you do a search for non-DRM EPUB, you'll probably find lots of websites where you can download files from. So what the process that I would go through that is I would download them from a website, put them in a folder on, say, Google Drive, and then use Easy Reader to go and import a book, like we did a file, but this time you'd be importing a book. Go and find that EPUB file, and it would bring it into your Easy Reader app where you could read it and traverse it in whatever chunks they decided to mark up for that book. Okay, and the final set of books I want to talk about are the copyright-free books, and the biggest project for that is something called Project Gutenberg. So what these tend to be are books where the copyright is no longer valid because of the age of the book, but you can get a lot of good classics. From there you can get text-based books, or even a lot of times human-read books. The human-read ones tend to be done by volunteers, so the quality of the reading varies greatly, but again, another great resource. So there are actually third-party apps out there, one called Audiobooks, all one word, and these apps vary greatly as to how accessible they are. But for the most part, if one is inaccessible, go find another. There's dozens of these things to choose from, and you will find one that allows you to go and find books and download them in that format also. So again, these are books that are no longer under copyright. Some of them are text, some of them are human read. So that is all of the book formats that I wanted to talk about. Okay, the last set of file types that I want to talk about are MP3 or WAV or any of the audio-based formats. So what these file types are generally used for are things like music, podcasts. Some books even come in these MP3 or WAV formats, depending on how you pull them out. So there are two main contenders for apps that you can use. The first one is called VLC. It's an open source audio player that's available on most platforms. It's also available on Android. All of the controls are accessible. And the same concepts that we went through for Easy Reader are the same for VLC, where you either locate the file using Google Files, and then if you click the More button, the Show Options button like we talked about last week, Open With will pop up, and if you have VLC installed, VLC will be one of the options, and it'll pull it in to the library that VLC has. You can then go in and play it. It's a very robust player in that you can skip forward and back, you can change the speed of the book, etc. Okay, the other app that I wanted to mention, which is my one of choice to play these MP3 or WAV files, is actually a podcast player, and I use something called Pocket Casts with an S on the end. Besides being a podcast player, there's a section where you can import files. So I often get audio files of movies that have description on them and then pull them into Pocket Casts and play them in there. This has the advantage that it has all of the usual podcast type player effects like compressing silence so that you can get through files quicker, enhancing voice, so any of the frequencies that are voice oriented will be brought forward so it's a little easier to hear. And of course, adjust the speed because, listening to audio files at 1.0 speed is probably what most of us are not used to. We prefer like at least 1.5 or higher just because we're so used to listening to audio. So there are other podcast catchers out there that are accessible, Podcast Addict, for instance, but I found from my personal viewpoint that Pocket Casts is the app that I would use to pull in those type of files. Okay, we've sort of gone through this. So then I have a section here called Tips and Tricks, just dealing with general file formats. Okay, so there is an alternative to Easy Reader. It's put out by a company in India, and it's called Kibo, K-I-B-O. It's like the monkey wrench of audio type stuff. You can import, you can bring in document files, you can bring in sound files, you can do anything with it. You can even bring in PDFs, but to bring in PDFs, you have to pay a monthly subscription. But I would suggest take a look at Kibo, K-I-B-O, for your basic needs and see if it fulfills it. So Kibo and Easy Reader are the big two. And then I have a note here that just basically says there are all kinds of apps out there in the Play Store that claim that you can, deal with these different file formats. Try them out. You might find one that's totally accessible. You might find a dog that doesn't work at all. But it's not a big deal because you can always remove the app if you've downloaded it and you don't like it. All of these apps usually come with a free trial period if they are a monthly subscription. As long as you, get rid of it, you won't get billed. And if you do get billed, it's always a conscious thing. They can't just start charging you. You have to agree to the subscription. So those are my ideas for dealing with the different file formats. So we are at, let's see what time it is here. 2:58, not bad. Okay, so let's open it up for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Glenn. That was fabulous. I learned stuff because I am also assuming that some of these apps are you can use on other platforms like Windows or they have formats for those.
Absolutely. Easy Reader, for instance,
Yeah,
is also available for iOS.
yeah, perfect. Any other questions?
I
I
know I went,
have I have
sorry, go ahead.
one.
Yep.
So I went looking because my trip through Android land is to figure out how things work and if they're different and whatever. And I went looking for the Kindle app and could not find it. So is it called Kindle on the Google side or is it called Amazon or what is it called? Because
I will
I could not find it.
Home. Home screen 1 of 2.
just give
Home.
me a minute. I'll go and look. It'll be under my books folder here.
Tuesday. Mostly cloudy folder books 4 more items. Libby. Easy Reader. Audible. Kindle. Capital K. I. N. D. L. E.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
called.
so the Google Play Store was just being it was just being. Okay. I will try
Be
again.
aware that when you go and search for an app on the Google Play Store, usually the first result that comes back is an app that somebody has paid to be put there, and the app that you really want is usually the second one.
Okay, because I figured that the first one was useless. It wasn't the one I wanted, but and when I looked the last time, the second one wasn't either. But like I said, I will try again. Thank you. I just
Okay.
wanted to confirm that it was called Kindle still.
I I
Okay.
I haven't done this, but I also know that people really like Kindle when they're reading with Braille displays.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love Kindle. I do.
okay. Yeah.
And I want to put it on my Android phone so that I can check it out there.
Yeah,
And
it is there.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Other hands up?
No,
Can't
there
see.
are not.
Okay, there are
Okay.
not. Shall
I
we
know.
turn off the recording?
Sure.
I would just say that there was a lot of information to get through, but the notes are available. So please download the notes associated with the recording, and that way you'll be able to go through a lot of the information again at your own pace.
Thank you for checking out our content. To learn more about the Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians, please visit www.blindcanadians.ca. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe.